When the SNES was relatively young, Quintet released Soul Blazer. The game combined the world-exploring element of Zelda with a completely new dungeon-crawling experience that tracked your progress. Though it wasn't a smash hit like A Link to the Past, it gave fans a great taste of what the SNES was capable of delivering for the genre. After Soul Blazer was completed, Quintet began work on what was to become the title's spiritual successor. Not a direct sequel, but a game that borrowed gameplay and story elements from the original. The result was Illusion of Gaia, which was released on the SNES in September of 1994. It was published by Nintendo, which followed its release with a respectable marketing campaign. Overall, Soul Blazer had a pretty straightforward story. A corrupt king made a deal with Death Toll to steal the souls of the world's inhabitants, and the protagonist has to destroy them in monster form to liberate them. Pretty basic, right? Well, Illusion of Gaia is a bit more convoluted. It begins as a boy named Will stumbles upon a dark dimension. Inside of the void, he meets an entity called Gaia, who the game is obviously named after. Gaia warns Will that there's an approaching evil force that threatens the world. Apparently, get this, Will is the chosen one to save everyone. Right, I know what you're thinking, the storytelling creativity is really off the charts with this one. Anyway, a comet soon crashes down upon Earth, and Will learns that it was actually an ancient weapon from the Blazer War that will change the shape and form of the Earth. Alright, well, that theme is a little bit more innovative than the whole Dark Force bit. The game is set in an age of exploration, and Will is the son of a father that went searching for the Tower of Babel. His father is missing, but Will made it back to his own hometown, though he doesn't remember how. Most uniquely, Illusion of Gaia uses several real-world locations, which is something I've never seen before in any adventure game I can recall. These areas include Incan ruins, temples in Cambodia, and the pyramids of Egypt. Even the Great Wall of China is in this game, and it's featured prominently in the storyline. Throughout all of Will's adventures, there's also a lot of odd and seemingly random storyline concepts thrown in. For example, there's a cult of cannibals that takes you captive until you're saved from death by a pet pig. Through it all, there's a lot of humor thrown in, as if the game knows it's over the top. And that's really one of the reasons it's so distinct. But that's not all this title is. There's also a lot of deep emotional themes that are executed very well too, such as the idea that life experiences give you a completely new perspective on things. It's really endearing in many respects, and if you can get over the combination of real-world locations, humor, and what seems to be a lackluster translation, you'll really like it. Gameplay-wise, Illusion of Gaia mostly echoes what the player experience was in Soul Blazer. The combat is mostly the same, as you travel around in an overhead view and attack enemies in an action-oriented battle system. The hit detection seems to be greatly improved from the first game, and the attack animations were also more polished. When it comes to improving gameplay, both of these things were great to see. However, there are a few differences that set Illusion of Gaia apart from Soul Blazer as well. Most obviously, Will can transition between 3 different forms. Other than his original form, he can become Freedom, a bulky dark knight that's stronger than his normal form, and Shadow, an energy mass that attacks enemies with a long-range energy beam formed to its arm. The best part of this mechanic is that each of these forms can accomplish certain tasks, obtain items, and get access to areas the others can't. For instance, Freedom's long sword allows him access to items that Will would not be able to reach. Besides challenging the player to think, I think it was a well-executed way to subdue the monotony that came with a game where you're just hacking and slashing your way through everything. There are numerous puzzles to solve in the dungeons, and lots of jumping across platforms. What also makes the game more fun than many of its counterparts is that Will can do several different types of attacks. 4 in total actually. There's the jump attack, Psycho Dash, Psycho Slider, and Spin Dash. Likewise, his 2 other forms also have their own sets of unique moves, and all of them do a lot to add variety to the gameplay. In dungeons, you can press the start button to see the locations of all the enemies in an area. This is especially helpful because when you defeat all the enemies in that particular area, you gain a jewel that increases your stats. It's essentially like a level up. Gaining all 50 red jewels in the game also helps you unlock a secret area called the Jeweler's Mansion, a single-room dungeon that's extremely challenging and has a special boss as well. This was a very fun Easter egg for those dedicated to obtaining everything the game has to offer. Graphically, Illusion of Gaia is a step forward from Soul Blazer. The sprites are crisp and colorful, and even the graphical layers make the game pop out a lot more. It just looks better than almost every game from 1994 by a long shot. Also, there are a lot of really awesome ways that the graphical experience is intertwined into the storyline and gameplay. For instance, just take a look at this enemy appearing from what looks to be a dark pit. This is really awesome. There's plenty more graphical surprises like this, and they really did a lot to make Illusion of Gaia memorable visually. My biggest complaint about Illusion of Gaia is that healing items are sparse. You can't just buy them from shops like in other games, they're only found throughout the world and in dungeons. It isn't a huge issue if you play methodically, but you really can run into some trouble on the tough bosses if you've used them up already. Of all its strong points, Illusion of Gaia's strongest was that it dared to be different. It incorporated different types of attacks, which made it unlike Zelda or Soul Blazer. Rather than merely an overhead game, it also incorporated many areas where the gameplay is more side-scrolling oriented than simple overhead gameplay. Its story was a combination of quirky and serious, which also stood out from Final Fantasy on one end of the spectrum and Earthbound on the other. Unlike other games of its kind, the soundtrack makes plentiful use of drums and other percussion sounds, and this too made it different from the melodic-driven soundtracks found in other games. There's a definite chance that RPG fans playing this will get lost in the convoluted story that, well, sometimes makes sense and sometimes doesn't, but you'll have fun with the game if you focus on the gameplay. It was a great step forward in the unofficial Soul Blazer trilogy, which would be continued the next year with Terra Nigma, the final game in the series. If you like this review and remember Illusion of Gaia, leave a comment below about the most memorable aspect of the game to you. If you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel and click the bell below to be alerted upon the addition of new ones. Also, please join my Discord community linked in the description, and consider supporting my channel via YouTube's Join feature to receive member exclusives, such as advanced videos and complete video transcripts.